I surveyed my reflection. The woman staring back at me seemed flawless, her makeup meticulously applied, her hair perfectly styled. She was the epitome of grace and elegance, a picture of what society deemed as success. But as I looked deeper, I could see the cracks beneath the surface, the hidden turmoil that no amount of makeup could conceal. I saw a woman who seemingly had it all. To the outside world, I was the embodiment of happiness and fulfillment. My smile was radiant, my demeanor confident. People often commented on how lucky I was, how envious they were of my life. But they only saw what I allowed them to see. My life with Tom was a picture of suburban bliss. We were the couple everyone admired, the ones who seemed to have it all figured out. Our home was a sanctuary, beautifully decorated and filled with laughter. We hosted dinner parties, went on vacations, and shared moments that looked perfect on the surface. We had a beautiful home, successful careers, and a love that everyone envied. Our friends would often say we were the perfect match, a power couple destined for greatness. We had the kind of life that others dreamed of, a life that seemed untouchable. But behind my carefully constructed smile, a secret festered. It was a secret that gnawed at my soul, a truth I couldn't escape. No matter how hard I tried to bury it, it always found a way to resurface, reminding me of the life I was living in the shadows. My heart belonged to another. It was a truth I couldn't deny, no matter how much I wanted to. David was the man who had captured my heart, the one who made me feel alive in ways I hadn't felt in years. He was my escape, my forbidden desire.
David was her escape, her forbidden desire. He was the man who brought color to her monochrome world, the one who made her feel things she had long forgotten. Their connection was undeniable, a magnetic pull that neither could resist. He was an artist, his soul full of passion and fire. His creativity was intoxicating, his passion contagious. He saw the world through a different lens, one that was vibrant and full of possibilities. Being with him was like stepping into a different reality, one where she could be her true self. Their affair was a whirlwind of stolen moments and whispered promises. They met in secret, their encounters filled with a mix of excitement and fear. Every touch, every kiss was a reminder of the risk they were taking, but also of the deep connection they shared.
I justified my infidelity as a search for something missing in my marriage. I told myself that I deserved to be happy, that I had a right to seek out the passion that was lacking in my life with Tom. But deep down, I knew I was betraying the man who had given me everything. I craved excitement, a break from the monotony of my perfectly curated life. The routine of my days had become suffocating, the predictability stifling. I longed for something more, something that would make me feel alive again. Every encounter with David was a gamble, a dance on the edge of a knife. The thrill of our secret meetings was exhilarating, but also terrifying. We knew the consequences if we were caught, but the risk only added to the intensity of our connection. The thrill of our secret only intensified our connection. Every stolen glance, every whispered word was charged with electricity. It was a dangerous game we were playing, but one that neither of us wanted to end. I convinced myself that I could juggle both worlds, my love for David fueling a hidden part of my soul. I believed I could keep my two lives separate, that I could continue to be the perfect wife while also being David's lover. But the lines between my two worlds were beginning to blur. But I was playing a dangerous game, one that was about to spiral out of control. The weight of my secret was becoming too much to bear, the guilt and fear consuming me. I knew it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down, but I couldn't bring myself to let go of the one thing that made me feel truly alive.
The dinner party was in full swing. Laughter filled the air, the clinking of glasses a merry soundtrack to the evening. The room was adorned with twinkling lights and elegant decorations, creating an atmosphere of warmth and celebration. The guests, dressed in their finest attire, moved gracefully around the room, engaging in animated conversations and sharing stories. The aroma of gourmet dishes wafted through the air, adding to the sensory delight of the evening. Elena played the role of the perfect hostess, her smile unwavering as she chatted with their guests. She moved effortlessly from one group to another, ensuring everyone felt welcome and attended to. Her laughter was genuine, her eyes sparkling with the joy of the evening. She was the epitome of grace and charm, a beacon of light in the midst of the festivities. But her composure shattered when she saw the single red rose lying on her vanity. It was as if time stood still, the noise of the party fading into the background. Her heart raced, and a cold sweat broke out on her forehead. The rose was a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of the evening, a silent reminder of something she had tried to forget. It was David's signature, a symbol of their love. The rose was more than just a flower. It was a message, a connection to a past that was both beautiful and painful. It brought back memories of stolen moments, secret rendezvous, and whispered promises. But now it was a harbinger of something ominous, a sign that her carefully hidden secret was on the verge of being exposed.
Panic surged through my veins. How did it get here? Who else knew? The questions swirled in my mind, each one more terrifying than the last. I felt a wave of nausea, my hands trembling as I reached out to touch the rose. It was real, tangible, and it meant that someone had been in my private space, someone who knew about David.
Her gaze darted around the room, landing on Tom. He was standing near the fireplace, a glass of wine in his hand, his eyes fixed on her. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her skin crawl, a sense of foreboding that she couldn't shake. She tried to compose herself, to act natural, but the fear was too overwhelming. He was watching her, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. It was as if he could see right through her, as if he knew every secret she had ever kept. The smirk was a silent taunt, a challenge that made her blood run cold. She wanted to look away, to escape his gaze, but she was frozen in place, trapped by the weight of his stare.
My breath hitched. Had he seen the rose? Did he know about David? The thoughts were like daggers, each one piercing deeper into my heart. I felt exposed, vulnerable, as if my entire world was about to come crashing down. The room seemed to close in around me, the walls pressing in, suffocating me with the weight of my secrets. My carefully constructed world began to crumble, replaced by a chilling fear. The life I had built, the facade I had maintained, it was all unraveling before my eyes. I felt a sense of helplessness, a despair that threatened to consume me. The rose was a symbol of love, but now it was a symbol of my impending doom.
Tom's eyes held a darkness she had never noticed before, a glint of something cold and calculating. It was as if he was a different person, someone she didn't recognize. The warmth and kindness she had once seen in his eyes were gone, replaced by a chilling emptiness. She wondered what he was thinking, what plans he was making, and it terrified her. That night, sleep evaded Elena. She lay awake, her mind racing. The events of the evening replayed in her head, each detail more haunting than the last. She couldn't shake the feeling of dread, the sense that something terrible was about to happen. The rose, Tom's gaze, it all felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Tom's unusual behavior, the rose, it all felt like pieces of a puzzle she couldn't solve. She turned the rose over in her hands, examining it from every angle, searching for answers that eluded her. The petals were soft, delicate, a stark contrast to the harsh reality she was facing. She felt a sense of loss, a longing for the simplicity of the past, before everything became so complicated. A terrifying thought took root in her mind. What if this wasn't just about the affair? What if there was something more sinister at play? The idea sent a shiver down her spine, a cold dread that settled in her bones. She realized that she was in danger, that the rose was a warning, a sign that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't imagine. The fear was overwhelming, a constant presence that haunted her every waking moment. Days turned into weeks, each one filled with a growing sense of dread. Elena felt the weight of her secrets pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. She wanted to reach out, to tell someone, anyone, about the turmoil inside her, but the words always got stuck in her throat. Tom's behavior became increasingly erratic. He was no longer the man she had fallen in love with. His mood swung wildly, leaving Elena constantly on edge, never knowing what to expect. He was distant one moment, overly affectionate the next. It was as if he was playing a role, trying to keep her off balance. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Elena felt like a fly caught in a spider web, her every move being watched. She couldn't escape the feeling that Tom was always one step ahead, anticipating her every action.
I tried to confide in my best friend Sarah, but the words wouldn't come. Every time I opened my mouth, I felt a wave of fear wash over me. How could I explain the tangled web of deceit I had woven? How could I tell her about the lies, the secrets, the constant fear that Tom was watching my every move? I felt trapped, isolated, and utterly alone.
Then came the anonymous emails. They arrived late at night, cryptic messages hinting at her affair with David. Each one was like a dagger to her heart, a reminder of her betrayal. They arrived late at night, cryptic messages hinting at her affair with David. The sender knew intimate details, things only she and David shared. It was as if someone was watching their every move, recording their every word. The sender knew intimate details, things only she and David shared. Elena's paranoia spiraled. She couldn't shake the feeling that Tom was behind it all, manipulating her, playing a twisted game. Elena's paranoia spiraled. She started to see shadows where there were none, to hear whispers in the silence. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the curtains sent her heart racing.
Was it Tom? Was he toying with me, slowly tightening the noose? I couldn't be sure, but the thought gnawed at me, keeping me awake at night. Was he toying with me, slowly tightening the noose? I couldn't be sure, but the thought gnawed at me, keeping me awake at night. I felt like I was losing my mind, like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from.
She confronted him, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. She demanded to know the truth, to understand why he was doing this to her. Tom's reaction was chilling. He denied everything, his eyes cold and devoid of emotion. He accused her of being paranoid, of letting her imagination run wild. He accused her of being paranoid, of letting her imagination run wild. But Elena knew the truth. She could see it in his eyes, in the way he looked at her, like she was a pawn in his twisted game. But Elena knew the truth. Tom was behind it all, manipulating her, playing a twisted game. She could feel it in her bones, in the way he seemed to take pleasure in her suffering. But the question remained, why? Why was he doing this to her? What did he hope to gain? Elena knew she had to find the answers, no matter the cost. She couldn't let him win. She had to take back control of her life, to break free from his web of deceit. She started to dig deeper, to look for clues that might reveal Tom's true intentions. She went through his emails, his phone records, anything that might give her a glimpse into his mind. And then she found it. A hidden message buried deep in his emails that confirmed her worst fears. Tom had been planning this all along, setting her up to take the fall for his own misdeeds. Armed with this new information, Elena confronted Tom once more. This time, she was ready. She had the evidence she needed to expose him, to show the world the monster he truly was. And as she stood there facing him down, she felt a surge of empowerment. She was no longer the helpless victim, but a woman determined to reclaim her life. She would not let him win. She would fight back, and she would prevail. The twisted truths that had once held her captive were now the very things that set her free. And as she walked away from Tom, she knew that she had finally broken free from his web of deceit.